This video is the second of my series on my road trip with my dad in early July. The first video focuses on the 2 days we spent on Highway 395, and this video features our time in Death Valley National Park. You can watch the first video by clicking in the upper corner, and let's jump into our time in Death Valley. Day 3, we're heading down 395 and we're gonna do some stops in Death Valley before going home. After grabbing coffee in Bishop, we set out on the 2-hour drive to the western outskirts of Death Valley. We made it into Death Valley National Park. We're on the west side right now, which is the side that most people don't enter on. We're still about 70 miles from the main area of Death Valley, but this is where Darwin Falls is, and that's what we wanted to check out today. After entering the park, our first stop was at Father Crowley Point, also known as Star Wars Canyon. This is Star Wars Canyon right here. The jets fly through here, but it's hard to know when they're ever gonna fly through. I do have a clip of the one I saw last time I was here that I'll play right now though. After visiting the point, we continued driving towards Panamint Springs and our first stop, Darwin Falls. To access the trailhead, you have to drive down a remote 2-mile dirt road. So this road isn't horrible, but it is pretty bad. I would say that you need a high clearance vehicle, definitely. You shouldn't need 4-wheel drive, at least not right now, but high clearance as there's lots of big rocks in the road. We reached the turnoff. There's the parking area right there. Starting the trail to Darwin Falls. It is 9:30 in the morning and it is already about 80 degrees. So we tried to come here as early as we could, but we left from Bishop, so it was a long drive. But definitely don't do this in the heat of summer. As you can see, there's not going to be any shade for us. I'll have another full video on this waterfall hike, but here are some of the highlights of the 2-mile round trip trail. The trail starts by walking through a large canyon in the desert and eventually condenses until you're in a small green area back in the canyon. I was blown away by how lush and beautiful it got, especially with all the water deep in the canyon. We're almost to the falls, and this is just a beautiful little oasis area. It's such a cool hike, not what you would expect from where you started or in Death Valley National Park. After crossing over the water a few times and navigating the loose rocks, we made it to Darwin Falls. This waterfall is so special because it drops down and hits a rock which splits the fall at the base. It's definitely a beautiful little oasis in Death Valley, and I was excited to finally be able to check it off my list of places to explore in the park.
Headed on to our next spot in Death Valley.
We made it back to the car. Other than the guy who was here when we got here, we were the only people on the trail the entire time. On to more stops in Death Valley. After leaving Darwin Falls, it was about 45 minutes to get up and over the mountain range and into the main part of Death Valley. We were just at 4,000 feet when we crossed over, and we have reached sea level at Stovepipe Wells. After arriving in Stovepipe Wells, we went to the general store to grab sandwiches for lunch and a bunch of drinks for our time in the park. There's the Mesquite Flat sand dunes out there. That's where we're headed to next. It was already 11 o'clock and incredibly hot by the time we made it to the Mesquite Flat sand dunes. Stop extreme heat danger, not recommended after 10 a.m. We're definitely not going out to the dunes. We're just gonna find a spot to have some lunch. You guys may remember that epic place that we had lunch when we were in Yosemite 2 weeks ago. Here's where we're having lunch in Death Valley. We braved the heat and found a spot to sit on one of the fallen branches while we watched other hikers that had made their way out towards the dunes. I can't stress enough how much you don't want to mess with the heat in Death Valley though. It's definitely not worth it. This is what happens in Death Valley. I left my camera sitting for too long and I went to try to use it and it's overheated, so I'm cooling it down. So Pop's first Death Valley experience is at 109 degrees.
109.
What do you think, Pops?
It's hot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can't wait to come back.
We continued our drive towards Furnace Creek, only planning on doing the quick, easy stops in the park.
We made it to sea level and we're gonna be at like -100 and something by the time we leave this park.
Continuing towards Furnace Creek, we made it to Harmony Borax Works.
As you would assume in the summer, there's our car. No one else in the parking lot. No one else dumb enough to be here with me and Pops.
Harmony Borax Works is a short interpretive trail that tells you about processing and mining borax.
So this is what the area used to look like. Pops is now regretting his decision wanting to check out this spot.
I'm not. Awesome.
The most interesting part of this area is seeing the large wagon that the 20 mule teams pulled. After leaving the interpretive trail, we made our way to the visitor center, which was closed because of the pandemic, but we wanted to see how hot the temperature was.
We made it to the temperature thing, 110 degrees. It's a hot day in Death Valley. We're literally watching the temperature change before our eyes. It was 110, now it's a 111. Pop said it doesn't feel too bad to him though.
Nice breeze.
It is a nice breeze, but that's hot.
After leaving the visitor center, we headed out on Highway 190 towards Zabriskie Point.
So Pops has never been to Death Valley before, so I'm showing him a few of my favorite spots as we make our way out of the park. First up, Zabriskie Point.
This viewpoint has become really popular over the last few decades and has been used in many different TV shows and movies. What makes it so unique is the way the landscape looks like it's eroded in front of you.
Zabriskie Point, Pops. If you haven't been here at sunset, that's definitely a time to come. It's incredible with all the colors right here. I'll put up a few photos from last time I came. Also, if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, he flew through here to pick up the child on the first season. What do you think of Zabriskie Point, Pops?
Just incredibly beautiful. Yet another form of beauty that we haven't seen.
After hanging out for a few more minutes, we escaped the heat and continued south on our drive to the next spot in Death Valley. Our next destination brought us to Artist Drive, which is a 9-mile one-way road that takes you to Artist Palette, one of the most colorful mountains in Death Valley. Just taking the drive is beautiful on its own, as it's crazy to see how the colors dot the mountainside as you're driving by.
We made it to Artist Palette. Pop's way back there because it's windy and hot, but look at all these colors. It's pretty incredible.
The colors are pretty incredible to see, and they're created from the oxidation of metals in this one area of the park.
What did you think of Artist Palette?
It's beautiful colors. You don't see those colors anywhere else really either.
The drive continues through a narrow canyon before dropping you back out at Badwater Road again. We headed south on Badwater Road to our next quick stop at the Devil's Golf Course.
Our second to last stop in Death Valley. We're at the Devil's Golf Course.
The Devil's Golf Course is a large salt flat full of the minerals that were left when the lake evaporated thousands of years ago. It's a really crazy place to explore, and be careful as you walk along them, as they're jagged and could easily cut you.
So all of this stuff is crystallized salt. It's one of the largest protected salt flats in North America.
I've stopped here many times over the years, and it's still hard to get over how vast the salt flat is in this area. Heading back to the main road, we only had one stop left on this road trip through Death Valley, and that was at Badwater, the lowest place in North America.
So there you go, that's sea level right there, and we are all the way down here. So yeah, there is water at Badwater, and that's what it's named from. So supposedly a guy came through here with his horse, and he was trying to get the horse to drink, and the water was no good because of how high the salt content is. So thus Badwater. We made it to Badwater Basin, the lowest point in North America, and the end of our 3-day road trip.
I'm at the lowest point in North America, baby, right here.
Depending on how hot it is and if you're still feeling up for it, you can walk out on the salt flats. I definitely do not recommend doing this when it's hot though. Just view them from afar and it's just as good.
What do you think about your time in Death Valley?
Death Valley is different than any place I've ever been. Raw, rugged beauty, incredible heat, very much disparity between beautiful green and incredible salt flats. Absolutely recommend it.
Thanks so much for coming on this 3-day journey with Pops and I. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.